everyone. This is Paul with To Live For, and I am absolutely honored and delighted to bring a special guest to our audience today. Her name is Emma Tellesy. Emma is a mom, a wife, a part-time commercial pilot, and she is the recent founder of the Holistic Happiness Tribe, which is a Facebook group. I think, Emma, we met before you started that group. I was trying to remember who we were. Oh, I know how we were connected, through another group on Facebook. The reason I reached out to Emma is that she is putting out this absolutely delightful, joyful message every day. Her messages are in writing. They're sometimes live videos. And I just find your work to be inspirational. And what To Live For is about, Emma, is allowing people like you with these inspirational visions and missions to share their story. And our feeling is that the more that we can share everyone's stories, the better off our communities are and the better off our earth is, because there's a lot of negativity out there, and this is just an opportunity to balance that negative energy that's out there. And my gosh, the energy you're putting out is phenomenally positive and again, like I said before, delightful. So thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul. That's an amazing introduction. I don't know what to say. I'm always blushing from all the kindness and the kind words that you've said there. So yeah, no, I'm very honoured that you even asked me to be part of this and to be interviewed as well. So I'm really excited about being able to do this for you. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I should mention, if you haven't figured it out by now, Emma is from England, right? You grew up outside London.
Yeah, just outside London is where I grew up, and now I'm actually in the southwest of the country in Devon. So yeah, pace of life is a bit slower down here, but it's quite nice to have that relax, from all the hustle and bustle of London. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. So we do have a time difference, and this is towards the end of the evening for Emma and afternoon here in Maine. So Emma, I thought what I would start with is the fact that you are a part-time commercial pilot. And I would love to hear a little bit about how that career path emerged for you. Was that something you've always wanted to do, or how did that come about?
Great question, actually. And do you know what? A while back, people used to ask me that question, and this is a long time before personal development. I used to just say, do you know what? It's a really boring story. I wanted to do it, so I did it. And that's what I used to tell people. And now, I kick myself for telling people that, because do you know what? It's not a boring story at all. I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot from the age of about 13. And it was actually because my family had saved up a lot of money, and we went on a round the world trip, and we went to Singapore, Australia, and America. And we did loads of things, and we went on about 8 aircraft in 1 month. And this is when I was 13. And the first time I went on an aircraft, I can't tell you the feeling and the emotion that I got from, just it going down the runway and like that lifting up into the air. I just absolutely loved it. And, these were really long flights that we went on, and I did not want to sleep for it, like any of it. I just wanted to stay awake and enjoy it and enjoy every single minute of it. And I didn't actually share these thoughts with my parents until I was about 15. And I think I was just sat down with my dad, and we were watching TV, and we were actually watching an episode of the program called Airline. So it's about airlines, as you can tell. And I just turned to him and I said, Dad, you know what? I really want to be a pilot. And he went, okay, all right then, like this. And then the next thing I knew, for my 16th birthday, they actually they bought me my first flying lesson. So I got to go for my first flying lesson when I was 16. And it was at a little airstrip just outside of London. And it was actually a grass airstrip. So, it didn't even have a tarmac runway. It was like a grass airstrip. And I remember turning up, and I was just so excited and really buzzing about doing it. And my instructor was actually a female pilot, which was really inspiring at the time. And I thought, do you know what, this is really nice. And it was only supposed to be a half-hour lesson, but she really picked up on the fact that I was so excited and just really energetic about doing this, that it turned in, we went flying for like an hour, which was amazing. And, it was only supposed to be a half-hour lesson. And I remember that first time when we were going down this little grass strip, runway. And she just said to me, just pull back on the control column. So I kind of pulled back on the control column, like not really knowing what I was doing. And just, you know, the aircraft just went into the air. And that feeling of, again, like kind of all came rushing back to me from when we've been on all those planes, you know, when I was 13. And I just got all that excitement and all the buzz. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so when we got back down on the ground, my dad was kind of like, okay, so this is what you want to do then. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of what I want to do. So everything that I did from that point onwards was geared to becoming a commercial airline pilot. So I did my A-levels, I did, got to remember what I did now, maths, biology and physics for A-levels. And then I went on to university and studied aeronautical engineering and graduated from aeronautical engineering and then literally had about a month off before I started my pilot training with a company called Oxford Aviation Training, and who's based in the UK, but actually we went out to America. So I spent 6 months out in America, flying out in Arizona,
Right.
out in the deserts. And yeah, just it's all self-funded basically. So I self-funded myself through flight training, through flight school. And people are actually quite shocked to hear that it only takes a year and a half to train. So from, you know, starting my pilot training to graduating took a year and a half. And then I was, you know, had a commercial pilot's license. So I applied to different airlines to get a job. And at the time, obviously, I was still living in North London with my family. And I got offered a job with a local regional airline who were based down in the southwest, which is hence why I moved down to Devon for my flying job, basically. So I hope that's kind of given you an idea of how I got into it. But ultimately, I think the thing that I want to point out is that it was a real journey for me to get to where I am right now. And I'm so thankful that I went on it and I stuck with it. It certainly wasn't easy at times. And it did take a lot of effort and a lot of hard work, especially with all the studying that I had to do. And I know that I say it only took a year and a half to train to be a pilot, but actually that was a year and a half of pure study and, you know, really knuckling down and doing the do basically and kind of sticking with it. So I think sometimes, like when you have a dream or you have something that you want to chase after, sometimes you think that it's not going to be such a hard journey, but actually you do need to put in the time and you do need to do that day-to-day effort and application of yourself basically. So I'm kind of waffling now, so go on, Paul. What do you want to say?
It's absolutely beautiful. And you know, that's a really good point, because I think sometimes it's easy to just say, well, I'm going to wait for things to happen. And, you know, I'm going to put this out to the universe and put those intentions out there. But certainly one of the lessons I've learned recently is that, like you just said, you've got to do work as well.
Yeah.
Your intention has to be followed up with some effort. But underneath all that, Emma, what I'm feeling is absolute and excitement and passion from you know, from when you were 13, and then that first flying lesson. And I suspect even now, when you get on that plane and you're getting paid for it, I think you're probably still reliving that awesome feeling as you're lifting off.
Absolutely. I do feel every day I feel truly blessed that I'm able to do what I love for a job. Like somebody is actually paying me to do my hobby, you know, and that's the way that I view it. And do you know what? It's funny, whenever because I've got, as you said, I am a mum as well. I've got 2 boys who are 4 and 2. And last year was the first time we took them on an aircraft. And actually, I could almost cry at the fact that because they'd never been on an aircraft before, we got on the aircraft and they were just sat there. And it was when we were going down the runway and I could just see like the excitement in their faces. And I remembered that like excitement from me. And I almost had tears in my eyes of emotion of just like going through that feeling with them, because this is the first time they ever experienced it. And I actually filmed my son, like I filmed him whilst we were going down the runway, because I wanted to be able to watch that emotion and that feeling back. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I honestly like had tears in my eyes, like the thought of, that was me, you know. Obviously I was 13 and they're 4 and 2, but still it's the same emotions going through. It was amazing.
Absolutely beautiful. And before I kind of talk about the other journey that you're on many journeys, but back to that round the world trip, were there certain parts of the world that really resonated with you and you kind of like maybe kept a mental note, I'm going to go back there?
I'll be honest, I really enjoyed all of it. Singapore was a really interesting place to go to, actually, and we were only there for a couple of days. And yeah, just last year, actually, my husband and I went to Malaysia, which is quite close to Singapore, and that was a really you know, kind of brought back a lot of memories, quite similar in some ways, in some respects. But Australia was really beautiful. We spent 3 weeks out in Australia, and my godmother actually lives out in Australia, and my mum has got a cousin out there, so we've got relatives out there. So I do really want to go back to Australia. I think there's so much more exploring. I mean, it's such a big country. There's so much more exploring you can do of Australia. And I was really, obviously, because I went out and did my flight training in Arizona, I did spend quite a lot of time out in America. But again, America is a huge country. There's so many states, so many places, and such a diverse range of people and of cultures that are out there. So again, it's a place that I do want to go back to. I've got a pull to go back to America as well and do a lot more exploring of America. So yeah.
Well, it's a great country. There is so much to explore, and as my wife and I consider traveling around the world, I have a friend who's traveling the country with a mini RV, which is a recreational vehicle, and I was thinking, well, wait a minute, do we really want to travel? Do we really have to go see the whole world when America itself has these amazingly beautiful and sacred places? But I've been blessed like you. We did a lot of traveling growing up, and I've seen a lot of the states. And if you end up wherever we are, you're always welcome to stop by for a visit.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you very much.
The piece I find really cool is that when you flew around the world, you had this opportunity, and what an experience when you were 13 to experience all these different cultures. So let me fast forward now to the group that you started it on Facebook, the Holistic Happiness Tribe. I don't know if you have kind of put together some of the data, but you got people from all over the world.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll be honest, it was totally unintentional. I mean, I put together the group, and I just thought, actually, it will attract what type of people it will attract. And it has attracted some really diverse ranges of people, which is absolutely amazing. I'm quite, yeah, in awe of all the people that have joined the tribe, actually, really excited. And it has grown so quickly. It's only been a month since I've started doing it, and we've got over 150 members. So yeah, really excited at where that's going.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I want to focus first on the title, the Holistic Happiness Tribe. That means a lot. How did you come up with that title? What does that speak to you for you?
So actually, I'm a great believer in going on a journey and taking people on a journey, and also being able to include every area of your life. And I actually started writing an ebook, which I'm still in the process of writing. It's probably going to take me a while to finish it. But the idea of the ebook that I would, because I've been on such a journey, a transformational journey through my life, is to include every area of your life. So I wanted to not just focus on, you know, a lot of people focus on mindset, or they focus on fitness, or they focus on nutrition, but I wanted to bring it all together. So the idea is that it's bringing nutrition, fitness, exercise, mindset, meditation, motivation, self-care, bringing it all together. And it wasn't until I actually had a call with a coach, and I was telling my coach about this, and she said, oh, it's really holistic, the idea of bringing everything together. And I thought, actually, I hadn't really resonated with that word until she mentioned it. And I thought, actually, that's a really, I like that word, because it encompasses everything. So so I just kind of came up with the idea of the Holistic Happiness Tribe, and it seems to have stuck. And I do really like it now. So yeah.
Oh, it's definitely stuck. And there's some wonderful participation. There's a lot of people with a lot of uplifting messages, and there's a lot of vulnerability too. People are willing to share what they're struggling with. Has I don't know what word you can use, I guess holistic, but has the holistic approach always been a part of your life, or is that something that emerged recently, a few years ago? How did that come about?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a few years ago, probably maybe about 4 years ago, I started on quite a personal development journey. And I mean, I've never been a book reader, like never in my life. I never really read books. I remember when people used to say, do you read? And I'd be like, yeah, I read magazines all the time. And that would be my, that would be my reading, is reading magazines, which isn't reading really. So yeah, so I started picking up books, personal development books, and it's really taken me on a journey. And from reading the books, then I've been on a lot of courses and a lot of training programs for personal development. And I read quite a diverse range of personal development books. So some of them are on mindset, some of them are on motivation, some of them are on, fitness or nutrition, and just really focusing on yourself basically. And so because of that journey, I've also been on quite a journey as well. I didn't ever used to really eat healthily. Like, I thought I ate healthily, but I didn't really eat healthily until I've really researched it and started to understand about nutrition and what you're feeding your body, and also what you're feeding your mind. And so yeah, it's been a real journey, and it hasn't been something that I've done throughout my whole life. I always used to think that I was okay as I was, but actually I'm still me. I'm just a more developed version, a more positive version of the person that I used to be 4 years ago. So yeah, does that answer your question? I feel like I've gone around in circles.
No, it did answer the question. I've only recently met you, but if you can kind of put happiness on a scale of 1 to 10, you certainly exude significant happiness now. Is that different than 4 years ago? Were you not as happy, or maybe not as consistently happy?
I think I don't ever want to say that I was unhappy. I think I've always been quite a happy person. But I think 4 years ago, I probably wasn't. I was more leaning towards more of a negative person. And although I was happy in the life that I had, I realized there was something missing, and I needed something more, which is when I started that personal development journey. And so the person I am now, I always say to people, I wish you could have met me 4 years ago to compare who I was back then to who I am now, because I've also grown a lot, like a lot of confidence that I didn't have 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I certainly wouldn't have Skyped or Zoomed in and spoken to someone on an interview that's being recorded. I would never have got up and stood and spoke in front of people. I certainly would never have done a Facebook Live, which I go live 6 out of 7 days a week. So I would never have done a Facebook Live. And I've actually, it's helped me within my flying as well, because I've become a ground training officer, which means I train other pilots now. So I have to stand up, and actually I was doing that today, where I have to stand up and teach other pilots. And again, being a teacher and being in front of other people, it was like my worst nightmare 4 years ago, whereas now I absolutely love it. And I kind of thrive off it. I love that energy of being able to impart knowledge and share knowledge with other people. And hence why I do so many lives, because I really enjoy being able to share some of the journey that I've been on with other people who haven't been on that journey.
That's really, really, thank you for sharing that. It's very inspirational.
Thank you.
You talked about you not knowing. 4 years ago, you knew something was missing. Can you describe that knowing? How was that feeling to you?
I'm not really sure how I can describe that. It's I don't have an answer for you on that one. I really don't know how to describe that feeling of it's just a knowing. Like, I just knew there was something more. There was something that I was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And I can't really put my finger on it to describe you, to be honest.
And I mean, that makes sense. So it was a knowing. Was it you yourself that went and picked that first book up? Were you talking with a friend and said, something's missing?
Yes, I spoke with a friend. I did speak with a friend, actually, a really good friend of mine. And I did say to her, I said, I feel like something's missing, but I don't know what it is. And she said to me, you need to start reading. That's what she told me. She just said, you need to start reading. So I was like, okay, all right. So not magazines. I have to pick up a book. So she recommended a long list of books to me. And yeah, I just kind of started my way through the list of books, and I've been reading ever since. So Love it.
Can you identify maybe one or two books that have?
Sure, absolutely, definitely. So I think the first book that I read was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Have you heard of The Secret?
Right.
Absolutely love that book. It's fantastic. And another book that really resonated with me was The Slight Edge. Have you heard of The Slight Edge?
No.
So The Slight Edge is all about things that you do daily. So it's looking at, let's say that if you are wanting to be a more healthy person and someone gives you the choice of having either a piece of chocolate cake or some fruit, and if you choose that piece of chocolate cake, that's fine. It's not going to, that chocolate cake isn't going to kill you. It's not going to make you really fat straight away. It's not going to degrade your health instantly. And that's the thing, is it's that compound effect. So it's okay to have that piece of chocolate cake, but if I had that piece of chocolate cake every single day, it's about there being there's two lines basically, and you kind of go along these two lines like this, and you're either on the upward curve or you're on the downward curve. And so if you eat that piece of chocolate cake every single day, you're going to be on that downward curve. And so it's something that it's not going to happen instantly, and you don't see it happen instantly. Whereas if you pick that plate of fruit every single day, you're on that upward curve. And again, you're not going to see it instantly. It's about the small changes, the small things that you do daily that are going to help you and have the long-term compound effect over time. So yeah, I absolutely love that book. I'm sure he puts it a lot more eloquently than I did just then, but I hope you get the idea. Yeah, so The Slight Edge was a really good book that I enjoyed reading as well.
And you're working on your own book?
Well, I'm working on an ebook at the moment, that's correct. And it's going to be Habits for Health is the idea behind it. And so it's going to be looking at different areas of your life, but not making major changes, but again, those small incremental changes. So changes that maybe don't seem huge, but actually in the grand scheme of things, if you compound them over time, they will be huge and it will add up to life-changing, what's the word? Life-changing circumstances. I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. So yes, so that's the idea, is that the ebook will, and it'll be like a program basically. So each week we'll look at a different area of your life and see what small changes we can make that will be compounded over time. And then eventually over time you can add in more small changes. That's the idea.
Love it. It sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
One of the questions I ask everybody I interview, and it sometimes can be a challenging question, but I really am enjoying the answers. For anybody that might be listening or watching this interview, if they're feeling stuck, or maybe they're feeling something's missing, or they're not happy and they're just not sure what they should do next, what do you think would be kind of critical, or I guess what would be your input, your wisdom around one or two steps that they could take? I have a feeling you might say read is one of them, but go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think reading has got to be one of them, because I think every battle that you have in your life is won and lost in your head. So if you can protect what's going on in your head, and reading is definitely going to help do that with the personal development side of things. So I think reading has definitely got to be one of them. Another one that I would highly recommend is actually meditating, and or doing grounding techniques. So being able to help yourself feel grounded, and meditating is a great one for that, and just about catching a moment of mindfulness. And it's not necessarily about clearing your mind of any thoughts, because I think a lot of people think that when you meditate you have to think of nothing, which is almost impossible to just think of nothing. But with meditating, it's just about focusing your attention, so you can focus your attention either on your breath, or you can have mindfulness meditation, so you can just, if you're out, let's say if you're out for a walk in the forest or something like that, just focusing your attention on the bark of the tree and just looking at all of, how the bark kind of has grown, or looking at every single detail basically, and just focusing your attention on something else and just really concentrating on that. So whether it's your breath or you're focusing on something else, and then what it is doing is it's allowing your mind to collate the thoughts that it does have in the background. And if you do have any moments where your mind wanders and you think about other things, it's okay. It's when you notice it and bring your attention back to whatever it is you're focusing on. That's the moment of mindfulness. And that's a really good grounding technique to do, that I do regularly. I do enjoy meditating now as well, which again is something that I didn't do 4 years ago. And actually, meditating has been something probably that I've only just started doing in maybe the past 6 months. And I've really enjoyed my meditating journey. So yeah, I would definitely say do something along the lines of reading and meditating or grounding yourself. And again, like, if you can, I think the mind is a wonderful tool. It's such a powerful tool. And if someone's feeling very stuck or not knowing what to do, I think those are two things that would really help get them started on the right path.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Do you have a daily routine in terms of focusing on the holistic aspect, and are you pretty consistent?
Well, because I've got 2 boys, my daily routine does change somewhat. I do have an ideal routine, which doesn't happen every single day. Another book that I read was actually called The Miracle Morning, and I don't know if you've ever read The Miracle Morning, but I base my routine loosely upon the idea of the miracle morning. For me, I don't get to do the miracle morning every day, because whatever time I seem to wake up, my boys seem to want to get up as well and be around me, which doesn't help if you're wanting to meditate and you've got 2 kids running around asking for food and all that kind of stuff. So what I try to do is, if I can get up in the morning and do some form of exercise, be it, I do all my exercise actually off YouTube, and there's a guy that I follow called The Body Coach, who he's got like 20-minute or half an hour workouts, or I do some kind of yoga as well. So I'd either do one of the two, depending on how high intensity I wanted it to be. So I would do some form of exercise. And then I like to have a moment where I can just sit and think and ask myself, what is it that I want to share with the world today? What message do I want to get across with the world today? And I try and do some form of journaling. So I will write down my thoughts and what it is that I want to get across in that day. And those tend to be the 2 things that I would do first thing in the morning. And then also write a gratitude list. So things that I'm really grateful for in my life, and grateful for, and some, depending on how much my kids are wanting my attention, depends on how many number of things I write down that I'm grateful for, whether it be 3 or 10. And so, yeah, write things that I'm thankful for, because I think it's really great to be able to start the day with a thankful heart, and knowing that you are really blessed and you are truly, basically blessed with everything that we have in our lives. So I would do that in the morning. And then, my day-to-day activities change depending on whether I'm working, flying, or whether I'm just looking after the boys. But I do try to have at least an hour a day where I'm just playing with the boys and nothing else. As you know, I'm not thinking about doing the dinner. I'm not thinking about the housework that needs to be done. I'm not thinking about business. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just literally playing with them. And if I can at least have that time, I think it's really precious to be able to share that with them, because I think sometimes we can get caught up and so busy in our lives that we forget to focus on the little things. And I know that my boys, they're not going to be young forever. And it's great that I'm able to have that time with them to do something, whatever it is that we're doing that day. And then I do have a nighttime routine as well. So in the evening, before I go to bed, I'll do my journaling again, just to almost collate my thoughts for the day. And then I will read. That's when I do my readings before I go to bed. So I tend to do about 20 to 30 minutes of reading every evening. And then I'll do my meditation. So I can meditate. And also, as part of my meditation, I sometimes do visualization as well. So I also meditate and do visualization. And that kind of just gets me ready for bed, basically, and in the zone of having a good night's sleep. And I find it's really good that when I read before bed, all of that information that I'm just processing and taking in, it's great, because when you're actually asleep, subconsciously your mind is processing it and thinking about it. So it's a really good way to get the information in there and get that positivity in there.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that a lot. So it's safe to say that who you are today is different than who you were 4 years ago when you launched yourself onto the self-discovery journey. I'm wondering, if you were to ask your family members and friends who've known you for a while, what would their reflection be? What would they be saying?
Oh, good question. I've never really thought about it, actually. I would like to think that they would say that I've changed in, you know, for good, for a positive change, had a positive change. And I definitely think they would say that I'm more confident and more assertive. I know what I want more. I'm a lot more decisive than I used to be. Yeah, I don't know. As I said to you, I was happy before. I've never been an unhappy person. I think I've always been quite happy, but I've certainly become a lot more happy since I've done this journey. So that maybe they would notice the happiness difference. I don't know. That'd be interesting. I actually really want to phone them and ask them, what do you think now? Because I've never asked them that. So.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you and to be honest with our audience, as soon as I asked that question, I thought, well, that's not really a fair question, because where I think you are coming from now is you're focused on your own happiness and not worried about the judgment or how other people perceive it.
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah. Right.
and so I think that's part of the journey, is becoming more accepting of ourselves, and then wondering how other people feel about us. That tends to fall away when we do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
How can people get a hold of you?
They can find me on Facebook. So my personal profile is just Emma Tellesy. So they could find me on Facebook. They could become part of the Holistic Happiness Tribe if they wanted to. So that is literally facebook.com/groups/Holistic Happiness Tribe. I upload all of my videos that I do to YouTube. So if people want to follow me on YouTube, they can do that as well. And again, that's just youtube.com/Emma Tellesy. So they can go and have a look over there. And actually I've recorded some meditations and visualizations and affirmations, which they can do on my YouTube channel if they're interested in starting that journey of personal development. So there we go.
That's awesome. I didn't know about the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you put that on the group yet, but good for you.
I haven't. Thank you. It's actually all of the videos that I do, my live videos that I do on Facebook. At the moment, I upload those to YouTube. So I haven't really done any independent videos just specifically for YouTube, apart from my meditations or affirmations or visualizations, which I've done, which are over on my YouTube channel. So I obviously need to share them more in the group. There we go.
Well, I try to keep the interviews to 20 or 30 minutes. I'm not sure where we're at, but I have a feeling that we have gone beyond that. And you're one of those people I would enjoy talking with all day. I think you have infinite wisdom to share. I'm really excited for you, because the excitement I feel from you is making a difference. I know in your family, those people that know you, it's certainly making a difference in the group. It makes a difference to your passengers on the plane and to those new pilots who are learning from you as their teacher. You really are a bright light, and it's an honor to have spent some time with you. And I really enjoy being part of the Holistic Happiness Tribe. And so for me, sometimes it's like, well, should I say this or not say this? I let ego get in the way, but I really appreciate the fact that you've created a very safe place for people to share whatever they're sharing. And that takes a special person to do that.
Thank you so much, Paul. That's actually, gosh, you're making me feel emotional. It's so lovely to actually hear someone say those words about me. I've never really heard other people say that. So I'm really thankful that our paths have been drawn together, that you felt that you could reach out to me to ask me to do this interview. And I truly feel blessed that you did. And yes, so thank you so much for your kind words and just for asking me to do this interview, because and I'm really grateful that you are part of the Holistic Happiness Tribe as well. Thank you.
Thank you.